Alright, in this video we're just going to talk through some of the basics of how we can use Excel to compute some of our statistical operations that we've been doing. Okay, if we were in class, I would be showing you how to do all of this on the graphing calculator, and you can, if you do have the TI Inspire, in our class notes you'll see in the review, at the end of chapter 15 in the review, there is a lengthy description of how to do all of these things in the TI Inspire. So if you happen to have an Inspire, there's directions for all of our stuff from this whole chapter. If you don't have an Inspire, the TI 83, 84, 89, all the different graphing calculators you might have, you can Google all the different directions. If you have specific questions, you can ask me. Or if you don't have a graphing calculator, you can always use Excel, and that's what we want to focus on here, is just doing some of those operations on Excel. So I've copied over data from section 15.5 on variance and standard deviation. That's the main thing we want to focus on here. But the equals key is your friend here. In Excel, hopefully you know that anytime you want, you can just hit the equal key and tell it any formula you want. Literally, you can just do basic math, or you can say, I want to take this first cell here and I want to divide it by this cell here. Or you can say, I want to take the sum of all of these cells, right? And so it's really as simple as just hitting the equals key and then telling it what you want it to do. So if we want to find the average, for example, I'll label it here on the left, and this cell I'll hit the equals key and just say find the average, right? I find it simplest to probably just highlight the cells that you're trying to find the average of, and we can just hit enter, and there's the average. And it will do a variety of the other statistical commands that we've talked about. It can find the median for you as well. So if we wanted to find median, we just type median, open the parentheses, make sure you're opening parentheses, and then telling it the cells that you want to find the median of. Okay. In particular, we were focused on variance and standard deviation in this section. So if I wanted to find the variance, okay, I will just type equals variance. Now you'll notice actually, we don't want to type out variance, okay? So for variance, we actually want to use a shortened version here. It just says var, and it has var p or var s. That's variance for population or standard deviation. We talked about in section 5. We want to distinguish whether we're looking at a sample or the population. So in this case, we'll assume that this is a sample of all the test scores, and we'll do the variance of the sample. We don't, it's a little bit tricky here. We don't want to hit enter on that drop down menu. We want to just double click on it, and then we'll select the cells that we want to find the variance of. We can hit enter, and there's our variance of that test data that we were looking at. That is for the sample. This is the sample variance. You notice in the notes that we did it as a population, so why don't we go ahead and see if we compute it as, so this would be sample variance, and down here let's do population variance, and we can do var.p, open our parentheses, and there we get the 29.75 that we got in our notes. So notice the difference between sample and population. That is a key difference. And we can do the same thing for standard deviation. In that example, we continue, or in later examples, we found standard deviation. So if we wanted to find standard deviation, again, it's as simple as hitting the equals sign. And here we will do standard deviation. Don't type it all out. We just want stdev, right? And we have again the choice between population and sample. Sample is going to be the one we want. If we type it without either of them, if we just type stdev, it's going to do sample standard deviation, since that is much more often the case that you will want sample standard deviation. So sample standard deviation, highlight the cells that you're looking for, and we get 5.83. Or if you wanted population standard deviation, which if this is a population, then that's what you'd want to do. But typically you're going to be using samples, so you would probably want to lean towards sample standard deviation. Oops, sorry, although in this case I did mean to do P for the population. And so, again, there are different values, and it is important that you recognize, am I considering a sample or a population here? And so that's going to be important for you to distinguish. But the main gist of it here is in Excel, you can do these basic computations very easily by just typing equals and then typing out the command that you want. So I would encourage you to play around and familiarize yourself with the different commands that are available to you. And then I'll make another video to show you how to do it with grouped data.